welcome back. I just finished my other live and I got another live going today. So I got Ray and Alex here. So what is it? Afternoon, morning? Morning for me still yet. So how you guys doing?
Good,
Good
good.
morning.
So this one is going to be a sneak peek into a new call that's going to be starting in the school community, the one rental at a time school community. So I will let Ray talk about what this sneak peek is all about.
Yeah. Well, once again, thanks again, Mark, for having me on the live here. This call, we really want to kind of promote this new call that we're trying to schedule on a regular basis on school, and it's going to be Chris and I, where we're going to go over strategies in short-term rental, right? And our goal is to essentially bring value to anybody who's maybe thought about it, wanting to understand the details of operating. A lot of people might not know everybody's background in regards to what we do in short-term rental space, right? Obviously, I own long-term rentals and short-term rentals, but Chris is a co-hoster. People might not be familiar with what a co-hoster does. Essentially, that's somebody who's managing the property. He doesn't essentially own these properties. He's just managing the properties for the owners. And he's got a lot of awesome systems in place to kind of make that happen and make it a smooth, you know, process for his clients. So essentially, what I want to do is just kind of ask the community, what their questions are, what they're looking for. Maybe they are already operating a short-term rental of their own, and hopefully we can bring some value to them.
So unfortunately, Chris can't make it on this call. He was going to join us. Unfortunately, something came up, so he won't be able to make it. So that's going to be the other person running these calls. And then people may be wondering what the heck Alex is doing here then. So if Ray and Chris are kind of the leads on this, Alex, maybe fill people in why you're on this live stream and maybe even talk about, so maybe we jumped ahead. So what is this school platform and how is it related to short-term rental and one rental at a time?
You asking me? So I'm here because Chris can't be here, and Ray and I are friends through school and also a local meetup. That's how we met, and I'm just here to help out.
Yeah.
But my wife has interest in short-term rentals, and we have a small house that we were planning on renting out as a long-term rental, but the opportunity presented itself. I mean, now's about the best time to do it. It's ready to be rented. All we have to do is furnish it and learn the platform and learn how to be operators. So we thought that right now is about the best time for us to explore this idea when it's right next to our house. Because when we do operate our short-term rentals, if we do decide to go that path, which is kind of where she's leaning, um, we do have her interests, my interests, and then combined interests. So if she decides to pursue some long-term rentals out of state, we want to have our experience and learn our lessons with the property right next door. And so I reached out to Ray, and Ray is really enthusiastic and supportive. And I actually ended up talking to Ray's wife during the meetup for the most of the time. And his wife Risa was so helpful. She sent me so much information, me and Jill, and we were able to. I mean, it looks really doable. It looks like our floor for a short-term rental will be our ceiling for a long-term rental. So I think it might be a little rough getting started, but in the end, I think there's only upside, and that's kind of our responsibility as real estate investors is highest and best use. I so so I'm interested in the call to the new, the new accountability call in school. And but also this is a great resource for people who are thinking about doing it. They might not be sure if they want to do it. So they'll be able to come check it out. And then just like Ray said, there's going to be a lot of helpful people, a lot of resources. Um, which is what we're all here for, right? And any way we can, anything I can do to help out somebody else, even if it's be a guinea pig, I'd be happy to support and help. And that's kind of my role in all this.
So the people that are tuning in, if you are going to be checking out the short-term rental call that they're going to be starting, put in some comments. Like what do you hope to get out of it? Maybe what kind of structure you like set up. So that's even something Alex can touch on. So I think Yasik was kind of joking a little bit, but he has a good. He said Alex is here for the accountability reasons. And if people don't know, Alex is part of another call that's on Thursdays. Him and Steve. But their call is very structured compared to some of the other accountability calls. And, some people like that format. It's very structured, detailed. You finish at a certain time. But those tuning in, put kind of hope what you're expecting to get out of these calls. But Ray, what else do you want to add, I guess,
Yeah.
or what should people look forward to?
Yeah, like I think the big reason why, I really wanted Alex on here was one, I feel like his situation is very relatable, especially to me, right? Like Alex, we had the same situation where we were really into long-term rentals. We never really were exploring short-term rentals as an option until like about a year ago, and that's where I met Tony from Tacoma Fi. I met Chris Price. I met a lot of players in the space, and then I started really capturing a lot more short-term rentals in my business. And I started meeting these players in the space, and it started intrigue me. And a lot like you, Alex, I don't want to go manage an out-of-state property and do a short-term rental when I've never done it, right? To go from never doing it to managing one out of state just seems kind of crazy to me. So when I first started, I actually did one locally, and it's kind of like what you're thinking about doing, and it's reminding me of my situation, right? And I feel my barrier to entry to get into STR, it wasn't so substantial. I wasn't acquiring a house. Really, what I was doing was I was taking a house hack and I was creating it into an Airbnb. So the barrier to entry was like maybe 3 to 4 grand, right? And so for me, the risk wasn't really that crazy. And I think that you're kind of doing the same thing, right? Why would you dive into something, spend 50 or whatever, so much money into it, and then you don't even know if it's going to work or not, right? So that's really why I wanted to bring you on, because maybe there's somebody else who can kind of relate with our situation, right? A lot of people in the OSTRaaT community, they're long-term rental folks, right? They're one rental at a time, and I don't think that's a bad strategy at all. I think that's a great strategy, but I think short-term could be an option. And I want to kind of ask you, um, I want to ask you what your thoughts are about starting your short-term rental and why you're choosing to do it locally.
So I'll get to that question in just a moment. I just noticed that Troy Roberts jumped on, and I have reached out to him and talked to him a little bit about short-term rentals. I know he's got some up here in this area too, and I just wanted to, get a shout out to him. So your question was, what led me to explore short-term rentals? Is that correct?
No,
Okay.
why are you choosing to do it locally first before you go ahead and do one in Idaho? I believe that's the one you're thinking about doing.
Yeah. So we're looking at, well, we were looking for a good quality small multifamily house, and or small multifamily, duplex, triplex, fourplex. But what we were able to find was a house with a small DAD, about 500 square feet. So there's a lot of there's a Navy base around here, and there's a lot of sailors. So we can rent that out for about 1,500 a month without a problem. Um, and I mean, that's great and all, but we're also looking at an out-of-state market. We're looking at going over to Idaho. So we have this house, and we can use it as a long-term rental as it sits, and that would be no problem. And we're used to that, and it wouldn't take too much to get that rolling. But once you do that, we won't be able to go back and say, okay, now we want to try and to explore the short-term rental market. So we're not going to fail, but if we were to fail, what's the worst that could happen? We just turn it into a long-term rental. We're out a little bit of money for a few months. There's no risk really. And so that's why I'm doing it, is to I am looking at a market in Idaho that I really like. I have a friend who lives over there, so I have boots on the ground, but he's not an investor. So he's not, so he would be my eyes and ears, but I can't really count on him to help me make investing type decisions. So I'm looking at this market, and I would like to do a short-term rental or a few over there. The prices are more reasonable than in my area. It's close enough to where I can drive to get there for a long weekend if I needed to. It's far enough away where I like to go there for a vacation and spend time out there. So I would like to get it. So I'd like to learn my lessons. I'd like to see if short-term rentals are for us, and if they are, learn those lessons now where it's easier to mitigate. We learn what our strengths and our weaknesses are, so when we do try that new market out of state, we're prepared. We're not being bombarded with the out of state investing aspect of things, and also the short-term rental aspect of things. I don't really want to, our community focuses, or they encourage focusing on one area of investing until you're an expert. And I don't know that I'd call myself an expert, but I'd call myself established. And again, this is more my wife wanting to pursue it than me. But I also want to learn the knowledge and the skills, because you learn different things from different markets and investing strategies and different people. So I'm sure I can learn things to become a better landlord for long-term rentals. And I think really it's to get buy-in from my wife. She does a lot of work to help me out with the long-term rental aspect of things. And I want her to get some fun out of it. She likes decorating and designing, and she's more of a people person, a host type person. And really that's why I'm doing it, is to get her buy-in and to support her the things that she enjoys.
Quickly before Ray says anything, I just want to get to maybe a couple questions. Sean Lambert, who's also in school, I know he does. I believe that he does co-hosting, like management, also too, for short-term rental. But he says, "I'm looking for other things people are doing to their short-term rentals to get high reviews."
Yeah. We had Kevin Knight, and he's the owner of Purple Pricing at the last meetup, right? And he goes into very awesome strategies in properly pricing your properties, right? But he also owns and operates his own Airbnb. And from somebody with a very analytical mind, right, who's looking at all the numbers and strategies to increase pricing on a daily basis, he was able to share some of these cool insights. And our goal in the community is, Chris and I know that we don't know everything, but what we can do is connect real big players in the space and showcase their strategies in the call. And those kind of questions are going to help us really hone in the type of guests that we want on those calls.
Josh Burdick, who has just closed on a short-term rental in Florida, so he'll probably be tuning into the new call in school. But he's asking, what part of Idaho are you looking at, Alex?
So I'm looking at Kellogg, Idaho, as Troy mentioned in the comments. What I like about that area is there's a ski resort there, and then in the summer they turn the gondola into, they'll haul mountain bikes up the mountain, and then you can ride mountain bikes down in the summer. They have events at the top of the mountain. You got the ski resort, you have all the condos down there. It's an outdoor, it's designed, that area caters to the outdoors. So hunters sometimes, out like quads and four-wheelers and side-by-sides and ATV use, bikes. There's trails that go through there, and there's another ski resort just down the road. It's not too far outside of Coeur d'Alene, so there's population center. And then some of the other places to go skiing around there are, I used to go to Whitefish, Montana, and that place is just wonderful, but it's gotten really expensive. It's blown up into these nice, or very expensive condos and houses, and the things you typically see near a ski resort. And then, but you haven't really seen that in Kellogg. And all that's really there is a major car dealership, which is known, in the Pacific Northwest. There's some mining activity, and then really the ski resort. So I think it'll take a little while, but it hasn't experienced its big boom. It did experience a boom from the recent increase in property values that we've all experienced over the last 5, 8 years. But outside of that, it hasn't. I don't think it's met its potential. And there's a lot of old houses, small houses, and just like you see in the older neighborhoods that you can pick up for what I would consider to be a very reasonable price for the Pacific Northwest. So I haven't ran all the numbers. I haven't done all the stuff. It just feels like it'd be a good market. So I haven't committed to it, but that's what we're thinking.
I do want to say morning or afternoon maybe for Brady Morgan. He's been tuning in recently on the live streams. He's in Idaho and Wyoming. He says, "Good topic. I live and operate in a strong short-term rental market. Definitely some things folks need to know before getting into it." So sounds like Brady should be joining the school community so he can jump on these calls and also give a lot of people his information and his feedback. But Flavio's asking, Ray, how did you find trustable people in Michigan to clean your property? And people don't know you are doing this remotely, right, from a distance.
Yeah. For me, I obviously what you want to do is you want to kind of use your network in that area. We'll jump into Facebook groups. But what I found, to be honest with you, when I was in Michigan, a lot of operators there were very stingy about giving, their cleaners and stuff like that. And now I understand why, right? Because my property's killing it. Obviously, you have an out-of-state investor. They don't really want somebody, you can even see it in bigger pockets. Like when you're listening to their podcast now, they're not all apt to just give the location that they have now, right? They're very stingy about it. And the reason is people get it. Once a market gets known, and you're going to have a very fierce competition. So anyways, back to your question, how did I get a trustable cleaning to clean my property? Well, I vetted while I was there, right? I tried out cleaners when I flew down. I had them clean the house while I was staying, and I just kind of gauged my experience. And what I found, to be honest with you, is regarding cleaners, I like independent cleaners more with STRs. I find that I can find 3 independent cleaners and I can work around their schedule and I get a better result than generally working with a bigger property, like maybe like a bigger company, like a cleaning company. And that's just been my personal experience. And I've talked to Chris about this and other operators. As some may know, I shoot for other Airbnb owners and co-hosters. So I tend to pick their brains while I'm, capturing their units. And a lot of us have the same, feelings about cleaners. Independent ones seem to be better results.
Before we get into some more of the comments in the chat section, do you think people can expect maybe step-by-step guidance analyzing, running, or scaling a short-term rental?
Most definitely, right? Like, I think Chris and we both have different specialties, right? Obviously, I'm on the marketing side. I understand what it takes from the visual aspect of what's needed in the photo to make your Airbnb stand out. And I think there's big value in that, right? Because if you don't have a scroll stopper, then what do you really have with your Airbnb? If nobody's looking at your Airbnb, they're not going to book it, right? But Chris can also look at it from design, operations, and all those intricate details that maybe I'm not as specialized in. And I think that's a very cool way to kind of let our audience know on the strategies they could be using. But also, like I said, we're going to be bringing in tons of awesome, amazing operators in the STR world.
Sean Lambert is saying, we use a combination of price slabs and key data to price our nightly rates. It'll be interesting to hear what others are using for their software stack.
Yeah, price labs. Yep, for sure. like I said in our last meeting, we just had Kevin Knight from Purple Pricing who just went over pricing strategies. Um, maybe that's could be our first guest. If that's the big interest, we could bring him back on, and he can go over those details. And for some of you who may be operating more than one Airbnb, he'll actually manage your portfolio and help you with your pricing. And he was talking to us, the kind of returns his clients are getting, and it's pretty amazing.
Anything else, Alex, you want to dig into, Rook? I mean, as far like I said, even like your accountability call. I mean, I know people joke about it, but having a buzzer set up, do you think that's been helpful for your guys' call? And is that something Ray guys should possibly be maybe considering or looking into?
So that idea was brought to me. I mean, you connected me with Steve. And it was his idea. I liked it. I'm about structure, but I wouldn't I think Ray mentioned him and Chris have some different they both have different skill sets, they have different ideas, and this is their call. Like I'm here because Chris can't be here. I'm here to help, I'm here to listen, I'm here to learn. But I so I wouldn't want to influence how that call would go unless Ray asked me, or unless somebody wanted to know, like, hey, this is what I'm thinking, what are your thoughts on it? I would like to see what it turns out to be. And Ray was talking about the two different personalities and skill sets. I mean, that's great for me. Think about how much information I'm going to have at my fingertips. I mean, just the stuff that Risa sent me. She used Price Labs, but also she's was happy and willing to share her experience and help us through it. And I mean, I'm overwhelmed with the amount of support and information out there. So that's going to make an easy transition. And I noticed some people talking about midterm rentals too. And I'm from my experience, which is very limited, there's not much of a difference between the short-term rentals and the long-term rentals. If a lot of times the rentals are listed on both platforms or multiple platforms. A lot of times during one season, the long-term or short-term rental might work better, but during the other season, the midterm rental might work better. And right now, there's a lot of work going on at the shipyard, construction outside of the regular shipyard work. So there's a lot of people in the area that wouldn't normally be here that are looking for places to stay. They're extending their stays at short-term rentals, and so now's a good opportunity for me. And I have all this information, all these people, and all this experience at my fingertips. And that's one thing I've learned within school. I saw somebody questioning the value of school, and or a paid membership, and I'm just like, you just don't know. Like, I've met so many people, I've got so much experience, I've networked. Here I am with you guys today. I mean, I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, so Brady Morgan, he is, like he says, I think a lot of people, even some of the new members like Gus who just joined, they were always hesitant about that $20, like paying for something. But like I think the $20 is to keep out the people that don't want to pay, and it's a very reasonable price, whatever, it's 67 pennies a day, I think Zuber likes to say. But it's a community, and I think there's so much value just for $20. And I just also want to Josh. I think Josh has been busy, so like he's maybe a little confused. He said this is a call today on Zoom. So no, this is kind of a sneak peek on what Ray and Chris are working on. So I tagged you on the actual posts in school. So they are going to be coming out with a new accountability call. It's called OSTRaaT. So one short-term rental at a time. And it's going to be kind of focused on the short-term rental, mid-term rental space. And if those of you haven't heard, also this Sunday, Zuber will be going live with Rob Awasolo from Rob Built. So he's going to have a speaker. And I think Rob is also speaking at the Vegas event in February. But yeah.
I do want to share something. Is it okay, Ray?
Yeah, go ahead.
I do want to share something. We were talking about the cost of school. Before I ever took any course, and I've only taken one paid course, I learned enough from it was Dion at Dion Talks Financial Freedom. I learned enough information from him to where I made more money in a month than his whole course call. So he gave me some advice and shared some experience with me. I met him in person, and he shared some strategies with me that brought in more per month than his whole course cost. And then after that, based on his experience and things that I've learned from him in a very short period of time, I made some property modifications that not only have increased the value of my property by a substantial amount of money, but it also increased that one project that I did. It increased the rent that I'm going to be receiving on that property by more than the course call. So the money spent on that course was was pennies on the return. And then same thing with school. I've met so many people and I've been able to talk with so many people and apply those things that I've learned. Um, $20 a month, like some people, you probably spend that on cheeseburgers or something, you know?
Brady Morgan says one of the best things I have seen in recent years with short-term rental in vacation markets. My buddy built a barndo as a short-term rental, put a full-size pickleball court in the garage, half of the home. That one property is turning well over 100K a year gross, always booked. Shows
That's
the
awesome.
importance of amenities tailored to your customer. Yeah. So if I was going to say, Ray, was there anything you're tailored your
You,
properties?
can I tell you this? Like I captured all types of Airbnbs for owners and operators, and the one thing I can tell you is there's definitely different levels of operators, right? I've chatted with homeowners who maybe this is their first Airbnb, but maybe they've like they said they've taken a mastermind and taken a course or have some kind of mentor in the space. And the ones who are really going in there, designing the home and really thinking about the client avatar, those are the ones that are I'm seeing that are top 10% that are getting the massive reviews and getting the bookings, right? So I think if you can really understand the demographic that you're targeting and you tailor to those individuals, I think you're going to be very successful in this space. So that's really cool with the pickleball idea. Maybe that's a great attraction for that Airbnb.
Trisha is saying, so Trisha is in South Carolina, but she said she's been watching videos from Robuilt. I'm thinking a short-term rental for after my next property. Yeah. So yeah, I think a lot of it is a lot of people keep hearing that short-term rental is dead, right? So like for you, Alex, how did Ray or his wife maybe convince you to head down this path?
Well, really, it's about numbers. And first of all, before it's about numbers, it's about making my wife happy, which I'm new to this. Like this, I'm kind of a self-driven, selfish person, so I don't always think about those things. And but this is where we're going. And we had a discussion before we got married. We just got married in August, and we talked about it. It's like, hey, this is where I'm going, with our lives. Does this align with you? And so I needed to make sure that we were both headed in the same direction. And this is a way that I can include her other than saying, hey, babe, I need you to go paint 2 houses because I don't do the painting. She does all the painting. So it's like I'll be doing the main construction type stuff sometimes, and then she'll come and spend weeks painting, and I'm off doing other things. So I needed to get buy-in from her. Um, Go
Can I
ahead,
add
Ray.
something to that, Alex?
Yeah.
When you talk about Risa, my wife, she's a marketing manager for a school, right? And she's never really cared about real estate, right? She just never. She knew that I did it. She knew that we bought houses, but really, she didn't really get into it until we started getting into STR.
Mhm.
And it's funny you say that because it sounds like your wife has taken some interest on it. And I think what it is it allows her to utilize her skills, right?
Mhm.
She loves looking at data and start analyzing things. And she didn't really think that she would like managing the Airbnb, but now that she understands like the deep research that it needs to make sure it's profitable, right? When we're looking at doing the one in Michigan, she was in Price Labs looking at all our competition and really starting to see the numbers. And like you said, if the numbers don't aren't projecting, why would you make that investment? So no, I just thought it was interesting that you know both our wives are interested in the STR space.
Troy, so I don't know if Ray can speak on it yet. So there is a poll in school. I mean,
Mhm.
I advise Chris to just pick a day that works for them, but Troy is asking, what day is Zoom call? I definitely want to be a part of it. Do you have any
Yeah.
maybe feel for it?
Well, the first one is going to be Saturday, this Saturday that's coming up, and we'll make sure to include that in the link for you guys. But as far as the time frame, I think we are leaning towards Friday. I think that was kind of what we were looking at, but I'll have to double check with Chris in regards to that. But if you guys have like a time that you feel is better, and there's a good amount of people asking for that, we're pretty open.
You could always do it like Thursday at what, 5 p.m. Pacific? Because they kind of skip every once in a while, so they're not always there. So that's a good spot to go to. But Nicole is saying, good to know about the meeting. Yes. Okay. Lynn, I guess, was there a prenup she's asking? I think this was for you, Alex. I think you mentioned you just
Um,
got married recently.
I did. Yep, I just got married recently. Um,
Congrats.
Thank you. I'll talk to you privately about that question. I don't want to answer that question publicly.
It's
There's not
absolute.
too many. There's not too many questions I want to answer publicly, to be honest with
That
you.
is,
But
Lynn is just always stirring the pot. And that's, you got to watch out for her.
and I think she got that from one of somebody else's call. Um, I was very adamant about being the antagonist in that call because he also had his wife online. So I was definitely taking up the position of a prenup. So I could
Mm.
see how she would ask that question.
So Sean Lambert is saying, though, I have news for you, Alex. The short-term rental isn't going to make her happy. Hmm.
Oh, you gotta tell us why. Come on now, you can't just leave us hanging.
Yeah.
Hmm. But so for Ray, it's been helpful, you're saying, right?
Yeah, like
Like,
when your spouse is not interested in real estate and all of a sudden she becomes interested, of course, you know what I'm saying? Like you want somebody as passionate as you in the space.
and then Alex, you were saying that was probably what helped sway you to maybe head down this path was Risa, right? Ray's wife speaking to
Yeah.
your wife, right?
Yeah, Jill wasn't able to make that meetup, but I went that time with the intention of bringing up the idea of short-term rentals to the people in that group. Ray mentioned Tony, and I didn't really get a chance to talk to Tony that time, but I've talked to him a little bit before because I have another DADU at another property, and it's kind of out in the woods. It has a beautiful view, and it would and it's a nice spot, but I have that rented out as a long-term rental right now, so I'll stick with that. um but that would be a good short-term rental too if I decided that it was going to be my thing. And another thing, I also plan on traveling between Arizona and the Pacific Northwest. I want to live most of the time down in Arizona and then come up here. I won't be able to do that for a few more years, but that's my ultimate plan. So if I had a short-term rental that I could block off the dates for when I was here and be able to rent it out when I'm not, and have so that skill set, that's why I wanted to learn that skill set, is so it suits my lifestyle. um
Yes.
and again with Jill, yeah, nobody's looking forward to cranky guests, and I'm sure it's not going to be easy. To be honest with you, I don't really love the idea of doing it, but I do like the idea of I do need to learn the experience, and I know it'll be it'll probably be more pleasant than I'm thinking about in the long run. But there's also going to be these examples of challenges that I'm going to have to face, and that's just going to make me a better investor. At the beginning of the year, I didn't even know I was a real estate investor, and after this year, I realized, well, it's time to get serious and become intentional. And some people pay money and they go to college, and well, I went to college for free, and that's about what my degree is worth to me. So I'd rather, learn this experience through life and connect with other people. Like, for me, it's as much about the social network as, I get to hang out with Ray now and more often, and it's just different. I don't know. That's why I'm doing it. I forget the question. Sorry.
I wanted to add to that just a little bit, Alex. Like, when you have a long-term rental, like, you're generally dealing with your tenants not too often, right? With the STR, you have back and forth communication, in regards to, hey, where's this at? Where's a good place to eat and whatnot? And you get your systems in place. So just like imagine like Steph Curry, right? Shooting his 3-point shots every day, right? And I feel like as an investor, when I'm in an STR, I kind of get those muscle memory. I get better as an operator, and I love perfecting that skill set, right? But also, it's not as intense as people think, right? A lot of people think that STR is like this whole full-time job. You're spending another 40 hours managing it, right? Like every single time everybody asks, like my wife and I, like, hey, how much time are you really spending to manage your 2 Airbnbs, right? And I only have 2 short-term rentals right now, but we're spending about 4 to 5 hours a week. You know what I'm saying? But in return, you know, we're getting 3 to 4 times what people are getting on their long-term rental, right? So I think I would say that's a well worth investment of our time. So
I
just
have a
a perspective.
I have a feeling Harrison is trying to make trouble here, but he's asking, do you guys stock your STRs with Kirkland products?
Oh
Um,
yeah. We were just at Costco. We were just at Costco. Like, one of our favorite things is, when we got to get paper towels, toilet paper, all those like little essentials, we just buy and then we just, we use them for our personal and our Airbnb. It's perfect.
I have to wonder if that was aimed at Lynn because she
that's that's what
doesn't
I'm that's
shop
what
at
I'm
Costco.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
But Sean does say we use Kirkland paper towels and TP, but not other supplies.
mm. No, Costco is my best friend, bro.
So do you think so, Ray? Like you said, you kind of just started short-term rental yourself, but do you think these calls would help people avoid costly mistakes that maybe you encountered in the beginning?
Yeah, most definitely. Like, I wouldn't consider myself like an STR pro or anything like that, right? I really think I'm just a student of the game. You know what I mean? And the cool thing about being around other STR operators, you'll just know, man, STR operators are innovative, right? They got that high energy, they're creative thinkers, right? Because if you're dull and boring in STR, yeah, you're gonna fade away very quickly. You know what I mean? So what you'll realize when you come to the STR world, you got some really cool, interesting people. That's just the space because they have to be creative thinkers to be successful. You got awesome designers. I just met Diana, who designed this Seattle townhome for Chris, and her and I were chatting about what she does and all the places that she travels to design properties. And this is what's interesting about the space. Everybody has a different strategy for all these types of locations, and when you bring us all in one call or a room together, just think of like the kind of conversations that you're going to have. And that's really what the call is about, right? Is to bring creative minds together to ask questions, to be innovative.
We'll touch on that too then, Alex, because you went to their meetup, right? Their short-term rental meetup, right?
No, I
Oh,
haven't made it out there yet, but I went to our local real estate investor meetup. Um, but I have looked into it. I have followed others and I have talked to others about it. And I mean, I guess that's kind of my point with having that in school. It adds a dimension that we're missing right now. And you talked about the personalities. So you mentioned, that creative, um, high energy personality. Well, I'm not that. That is not me. I'm the boring person, the regular stuff. My face, it doesn't say, it's not, I'm not always smiling like you, Ray. Like, I need people like you in my life, in my friendships, in my networks, because I feed off of that, and I'm able to help with the things that I'm good at, structure, or it might be systems, or who knows what it'll be. It might be thinking differently than a short-term rental operator. But that's again why my wife is leaning this direction. It's more her. She's more of a hostess type person, and she's more caregiving and helping and designing and all of that. So a lot of it too, if I get her in those rooms, she'll get her cup filled from those personalities and those people. All I got to sit there is eat dinner and hang out and talk to people. It's a pretty good deal for me.
Me being a creative person, right? I definitely, I definitely have a hard time just kind of paying attention to somebody writing on a board or whatever, right? So for me, I just love innovative, creative people, and I crave that in my life, and I think that's why short-term rentals really resonates with me, right? It just feels innovative. It feels people are doing more. Like, how many things can you really do to a long-term rental, right? All right, let's put granite countertops. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you doing any kind of crazy back wall with some kind of collage on it? Like, what I'm saying? There's a lot of cool things that you can do with STR, which gets me, one, being a photographer, gets me excited, right? How many white walls have I shot? Great. Like, oh my gosh, bro. I don't want to shoot boring stuff anymore. I want to shoot creative spaces that put a smile on my face, that make me think, oh my gosh, what a cool, unique idea. And hopefully what we can do is I get to meet some amazing owners and operators who are innovating and telling us their strategies. So maybe we can implement them. But also my goal is for the investor who was like me and you, Alex, who weren't thinking about short-term rentals as an option. I really want, I really want to have a voice for those people, because I think there's a lot of people in the OSTRaaT community, or just in general in the investment community, who just look as short term and write it off as like not an option for me, right? And really what they're doing is they're closing the doors for opportunity, right? As investors, you should always keep an open mind, because you never know if that strategy could work for you. Now, I'm not saying you should do everything, right? But just always have an open mind.
And so, Ray, to add on to that, not only having an open mind, because I did catch, or I did pick up on that stereotype of the short-term rentals. Like, no, too much work, dealing with guests, reviews, all that stuff. Nobody really wants that. But it's keeping an open mind to everything, and then also being willing to learn. So for me, this experience is a learning experience. So yes, I'm keeping an open mind, but what's the risk? There's no risk. I learned some new things. And then, yeah, I mean, that was it. I think I had another point, but kind of slipped my mind.
Josh Burdick says we are doing a mural next week in our short-term rental.
That just reminded me.
Oh, that's awesome.
So the one that I'm working on now is going to be pretty. I picture it being pretty plain, like a midterm rental, nothing blow your mind. But what I have in Idaho, what I'm looking for in Idaho, which surrounds the things that I enjoy doing, right? So I'm thinking about skiing. I'm thinking about setting up. I don't want to give away all my ideas, but I'm thinking about setting up a spot that can be converted to support skiers and skiing and snowboarding and all of that in the winter. If I can convert that space from a space that supports that to a space where you can wash your mountain bikes, you can fix your flat tires, or you can tune up your bike, or work in that space, with outside, have a bonfire or whatever, have a fire pit and, some music and a bar and some beer and some whatever, if I can convert that space in the winter and then transition it into the summer to be another space, I'm excited about that. So my normal way I am is plain and boring, but that doesn't mean I can't be convinced to get out of that. When I start thinking about the vacation, when I start thinking about what I want to do for fun, all of a sudden this creative side of me comes out that I didn't know I had. So that's something to point out as well.
Brady Morgan says simple and boring works great for me. All about the long-term plan, but he definitely gets the allure of the short-term rental though. If done properly, cash flow is huge. And Trade Better 99 says, Ray, do you have a favorite artist that helps visualize your properties?
A favorite artist, like a designer or something like that.
Yeah, I guess.
Um, no, I don't really have a favorite artist. As far as a designer goes, no, I can't think of one that I'm. Yeah.
So I guess Brady, like I said, he's in that Idaho, Wyoming. He says snowmobiling is the main driver of winter traffic in my area. Best spot in the country for mountain riding. If you have garage space for the snowmobiles and lots of bunks for the guys at a low rate, it stays booked.
That's
I've been
awesome.
I've been thinking about that as well. When I do look in that market, I do look for something with the garage that can support snowmobiling in the summer or in the winter, and then side by sides in the summer, and then even hunters in the fall, right? A lot of those guys like their side by sides and stuff like that too. So that is something that I've considered.
So, Ray, from your experience so far, is there something that maybe people always are lacking in the Airbnb or your guests are looking for? So, like Lynn says, do you guys stock your short-term rentals with shampoo and conditioner? I'm always mad when I don't get these in Airbnbs.
Yes, always. And I don't. One of the things that oh my gosh, there's two questions there, and I want to answer both of them. Yes, we do stock shampoo and conditioner, and we don't just get bottles from just like a regular store and throw them up there, right? I think that's so tacky. We get the actual shampoo bottles that says shampoo and that says conditioner. Like I want that high end feel, right? Like I just feel that was the old way of doing things, right? You want to compete with what hotels are doing. If you really want to stand out, you want to, like, for example, one of the things that our guests really love about our property in Michigan, they're like, wow, they have brand new sponges at every time we come there. We don't have no used sponges. It's disgusting. You know what I mean? Like we literally buy a pack of 40 from Amazon, and every single time our cleaner puts a brand new sponge. And literally we get in our reviews, these are the little things that we love about this Airbnb, right? And those are the little details that people focus on, right? And me being a photographer, I look at these very critical things, right? I look at when I'm looking at a bathroom photo, why is your toilet seat up? You know what I mean? Like, why can I see your plunger in the shot of your Airbnb? That's disgusting. You know what I mean? Like, these are like little things that I'm just like, I pick up on. And to answer the question in regards to what I'm seeing with regular owners who are operating their property, I'm shooting one in Tacoma here tomorrow. And this owner and I, when we went on our call, she was asking me, hey, I own a multiple Airbnbs, but, I'm trying to elevate myself, right? And the things that she was asking me was like, what should I do as far as design on my space? And what I find is a lot of people will put the beds together. They'll put a bedroom, put a couple photos up, but they're lacking that punch in the space. And what I mean by that is they don't have enough awesome throw pillows on there. Their blankets that they have zero texture, right? It's the same way that I look at a regular real estate shoot where it looks like white walls, blank space, boring, right? And for me, I've shot thousands of properties now that I'm just like, when I look at a space like that, I know it's not going to stand out, right? And your job as a Airbnb operator is to make sure your property stands out from your competition. So one of the things that I would say that I see most operators are doing incorrectly is just doing the basic standard stuff and thinking it's gonna work. That's what I'm telling you. Like, I think what you should do if you're not a designer is probably maybe get some mentorship. Maybe hire a designer for your space, understand colors and how these will play a role in when you get your photos done, but also work with a creative. For me, I consult with a lot of my operators before I even shoot it. And if I don't feel that your Airbnb is ready, I'll refuse to shoot your house. You know what I mean? It's just not, because the money you're going to invest in it, it's going to be worthless. You know what I mean? So I'd rather not be a part of it. So that's my 2 cents.
One thing Ray mentioned, he said he's very detail oriented. So my wife will think about the things like, okay, you need to have shampoo and conditioner in the shower, and we'll probably have it like the hotel, you have those pump bottles or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She'll say, hey, we need shampoo and conditioner. And I'll say, okay, we need the refillable bottles. We need the wide mouths. We need the, so it can be quick and easy. We need clear so we can see where the levels are at, so those details, I capture the details and she captures the creative side of things. So when we combine those two efforts, like Ray mentioned, the texture of the blankets, that's kind of cool to me. I get that. That's important. I would have overlooked that. But then he said all the throw pillows, and I hate throw pillows. My wife loves them. They're everywhere. I hate them. But I know that they're important for Airbnb. And he's talking about how you can design a space, right? The Airbnb that I'm working on right now is just pretty plain. There's nothing special about it. The color paint is boring. It was set up to be a long-term rental. It's really probably going to land in the mid-term rental space. But one thing we are doing is there's a pull-down ladder for the attic. And this pull-down ladder, the attic space is finished. It's mostly nice. I mean, it's not finished with high quality, but it's finished. And but that would add a lot of space to this small spot. And so one of the things that we are going to do is we're going to invest in some construction. We're going to have that entry moved and have a permanent ladder up there. So if you picture, it's not going to be a loft because it's not open to the lower level, but think like a sleeping loft for a couple of kids. There's some room to move around up there, or somebody can put some store some things up there, whatever. But that'll open it up from a 2-person Airbnb to maybe a 4-person Airbnb, a family with a couple of kids. They'd be able to, go up there and crash, sleep or have some little video games or something up there, something set up like that. But that's kind of, I'm forced to explore that creativity and add value to that space, because I told Jill, I said, look, I don't know that I want to do this. What do you think? And she said, yeah, we're going to do it. I'm like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, I explored some ideas and I'm like, I don't know. She's like, yeah, we're going to do it.
I like Jill. I think I need to meet Jill. I think she's my type of people. You know what I mean?
It'll happen. Yeah.
This is a great question from Lynn. I'm not sure if you guys ever dealt with this, but so Lynn is saying, on the other side, I have stayed in other Airbnbs where they have left wine for the guests. I think that could be a liability for the host. Alcohol is tricky for people. Is that like, so how do you guys navigate that? Or is that something you navigate, Ray?
I'll tell you this, like, there's so many little things that it's funny because I have other operators who I help out, right? And they'll be just like, hey, how do I deal with this? How do I deal with that? I think you can gauge it, right? Like when a client comes over and says, hey, I have a honeymoon, all right, we're going here for our anniversary, right? And you throw some wine for them, I think that's just super cute. And and I think it's just super, I don't know, just being a great host. Now, have I done that yet? No, I haven't had anybody that had like an anniversary or something like that, but I could see myself doing that. And could it be liability issue? Yeah, I probably could, but I'm more optimistic kind of person. I always look at the bright side of things. I never look at the negativity, right? So, but that's just the way I think.
That's funny because I'm the opposite. And when we're talking about the attic space or the loft space, I'm thinking about the liability, and she's thinking about how cute it is. And she won, so we'll get good insurance. She's an insurance agent. So one of the things, and but Lynn mentioned, alcohol and stuff. I know I won't be leaving alcohol, and I won't leave alcohol, that risk, that liability. I'm not trying to support that, especially my basic run of the mill. I think of my house, this Airbnb is like a book nook, someplace for a single person or whatever, just kind of, you know, have to, go out and do the fun things. This is supposed to be someplace you sleep and you feel comfortable. The next ones, though, that I am going to do, as long as everything works out, that's going to be more vacation oriented. So not all short-term rentals are vacation oriented. That's another thing. There are some that are vacation oriented. Think about that. But then there's others that are in people's basements that aren't really set up for, that. And maybe they're plain, maybe they don't rent a lot. I don't know. But I'm kind of looking at what I can do with what I have. But no, I won't be supplying alcohol. Now, one thing for my long-term renters, every once in a while, if I get a feel for them, we'll try and do something nice, or Jill will anyways. And we had somebody who was creative, and she liked to read books, and she said she liked to do art and all this stuff. So Jill went to the craft store where she goes all the time anyways, and picked up a couple of, like, an easel and a couple of other things to, like, support this tenant's, craft addiction or hobby, whatever you want to call it, and set that up and gave it to them. Now, so I know that Jill will do something like that. And if somebody is coming to stay at one of our places for an anniversary, like, oh, we're coming here for our anniversary, then we're going to do something special for that person. I don't know if it's going to be alcohol or whatever, probably. Like, I don't know. But I know that Jill will, and I probably won't even know about it. Like, oh, this is what we did. Cool. I get credit for it.
One of the cool things I think you'll learn, Alex, especially with that unit being so close to you in the Airbnb space, is you'll realize most of your guests are just real people. They're people like you and I. And I think a lot of people get scared nowadays because, I don't know, they're just scared to go out and say hi to people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fortunately, that's not who I am. I'm very optimistic. Like I said, I think there's a lot of good in people, and you should see the kind of people that come here, right? That I meet. Our dogs are playing, my Frenchies are running around with their lab, and we're talking about our lives. And to be honest, most of the guests that I've had, they have their own Airbnbs. You know what I mean? And they're just like me. They're like, oh, I'm living a lifestyle where I want to control my time, and they tend to be other investors who are like-minded individuals, and I've actually created some great friendships with these people, and I think it's something that people will be happily surprised. You know what I mean? That the people that are staying at their homes that they've created and curated are good, genuine people. You know what I mean?
Well, one thing, I'm glad you brought that up. I am working towards financial freedom. That's my goal. That's the end. That's everything. So if I can get there, my time frame is kind of set in stone, at least my earliest time, to where I can actually live that lifestyle. And that's at about 5 years, a little less than 5 years away. So I'm kind of stuck in that timeline. But if there's something that I can do to reach that goal a little more comfortably, or if it's shift my whole philosophy to short-term rentals, I'm probably not going to do that, but I will lean into it a whole lot more. The goal, let's not forget about the goal. The goal is for financial freedom. And if short-term rentals get me there faster, then I'm going to explore that option. And then I've also considered, REI Jared talks about co-living, and I've been looking into co-living and actually sober living in my area as well. So I may eventually have an Airbnb, and then right next door have a sober living house. And those the things that I learned from hosting an Airbnb will help me with the co-living house, and the things I learned from the co-living house will help me with the Airbnb house, and all of the things that I'm doing now have all been built in long-term rentals. So that's kind of my perspective on it.
No, I'm with you on that, Alex. Like, when I think about the real estate portfolio, everybody's different. Okay. And my goal is I don't need 100 units. I don't even want 10 units, bro. I want, you know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
want the least amount of units, the least amount of roofs, fridges, stoves, right? And and for me, I think Airbnb is one of the strategies that I'll do. But also, I don't want to be fully just in real estate, right? I feel like there'll be coming a time in my portfolio where I'll have a real estate portfolio and I'll have maybe S&P 500 stocks, whatever, right? I want to be diversified, but having 100 roofs to deal with, 100 tenants to deal with, nah, I'm good on that.
Another thing, you work for yourself.
Yep.
Right now, you decide what time you start work. You decide
Yep.
what time you take lunch. You decide how many days off a year you get. Um, I don't have that. So think about all that is driving me, is pushing me towards my end goal of financial freedom. So, like I said, if it takes, just like you said, though, I want to do it um, as many or as few properties as possible to meet that goal. But I also want to, I'm probably not going to invest in other ways. I mean, yeah, I have some other investments, but one thing, I'm not sure what I'm going to do for retirement. Like, I don't know what that looks like. Some of it's going to be traveling. I don't know that I don't want to do anything. One of the things that I think about is making work optional. Well, I do think that I'm going to want to do some things. And if I'm managing my properties or maintaining my properties or working on my portfolio, I might buy another long-term rental in that process. Or I might say, okay, now's the time. Maybe I don't really explore that other market until I'm not working anymore. And then I move over there and kind of, or maybe who knows how that's going to work. But that end goal, like I know that I want to be financially free. And if that's short-term rentals, then that's the route that I'm going to go. Um, Ray,
I just want to give people, let them know you guys got about 10 minutes left because I do got to jump over to the best accountability. This is going to be short term is going to be a good call, but the best call is going to be starting at 3 p.m. Eastern, the Pittsburgh call. And
Oh yeah.
my head is getting sore from wearing this because I've been on this thing all morning. I recorded with Zuber, then had another live before this, but always willing to do this. But I also want to add in because I know Ray mentioned it, and it reminded me of the first time he reached out to me. Ray was talking about I just kind of talking to people, but Ray is I always say Ray is borderline stalker, right? Remember you told me the first time you reached out to me, you said, "Yeah, man, I'm a bit awkward, don't." And he was like, "Yeah, Millennial Mike was kind of like I invited him into my basement and all these kind of things." And I remember that story now that you brought it up, but Ray is a great guy. I mean, he definitely knows his stuff, but he's a great resource to the school community.
Let me just say, okay, for the people who don't know me, I'm an acquired taste. Okay, I'm a fine wine. You're either gonna like it or you don't. But the cool thing about me is I'm real, right? I'm not gonna fake it. I'm not gonna bullshit with you. If I don't like you, I'm gonna tell you. You know what I mean? But it's just I feel like there's just so many people in this world who aren't just being authentically who they are, right? And I've just realized over my lifetime I don't got time for all that.
I like
um,
to, I
yeah,
like, I'd like to point out, like when Ray and I met, I think I saw that in him, and I think he saw that in me, and it made for instant friendship. I mean, that's how it seemed to me, anyways. It's like, oh, we're cut from the same cloth. And don't get me wrong, I'm not like a fine wine. I'm more like a cheap beer. But I kind of picture Ray as a little bit more like a shot of tequila or a margarita every once in a while.
all
But
right, all right, let's get to these last few questions in real quick. So Brady Morgan is saying, Alex, do you know anything about construction? You seem like you might be a handy guy. With a 5-year deadline, self GC build to rent is probably the safest way to get there. Just a slight learning curve.
So I joined the Navy at 18, and I've been working in the technical field for a long time. Before I joined the Navy, I worked in construction. My stepdad was in construction, and I learned a lot about that. I'm not afraid to learn new skills, so I wouldn't say I'm a professional, but I can say I can do about 90% of what the professionals do. But then there's the skill that comes along, the skill that comes with mastering something, and then also the knowledge that comes with doing it every day. So I could get, maybe I exaggerated a little bit, I could get about 80% the way there, and I need some help with other things. So that saves me a lot in labor. You mentioned build to rent and general contracting. No way. I do not want to deal with all the people, the finding and vetting good contractors and all the stuff that goes along that way. Build to rent is a good idea in some markets. It's not good in my market. That's another thing I'm not really leaning into. Plus, it's hard to do the value add strategies. You can't do that when you build the rent, right? I mean, I guess you can design it into the build, and it takes a little while for those to cash flow in my market. And I don't really want to go out and explore other markets just because other people are doing it. Yeah, so the market is important to me. I got to be able to tie into that market somehow.
Marlon R.E., who's in Colorado, says Alex speaks with passion, possibly the most important key to success.
Thank you for saying that. I want to let everybody know that until this year, I didn't know that groups like this existed. I didn't have friends in this community. I never went to I didn't even know I was a real estate investor. So now that I found my friends that I can talk real estate with without boring the crap out of them, I love it. And my friends appreciate it too. And that's one thing I said about Emily Lopez. I heard her say it like, hey, her friends appreciate that she found real estate investing friends, so she doesn't, bore the hell out of them. And I just think that that's how I feel about this community. So it's taking me most of my life to find something that I'm this passionate about. So I appreciate you saying that, because most of the time I'm just look like this, just pretty boring. But yeah, this is lit a fire under me. And in the past, I would work on a project and I'd be stressed out and I'd be passionate in that project, but then it was done, I just sit around like a bum, and it was pathetic. It's like the winters around here. It's like, oh, I just shut in, and it was not cool. Now I have something I know, okay, I'm working towards the next thing, or I'm saving for the next thing, or I could get on a call and learn something else. I mean, it's great. And I am passionate about it. And thank you for pointing that out.
And
I,
as you mentioned Emily Lopez, just a reminder, I'll be live streaming with her tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and she is a investor. She has a big DIY channel, but she's in the Wyoming market. So go ahead, Ray.
no, I just wanted to answer, this question from Pewd. I don't know. Maybe I missed this, but she was wondering how are we finding high performing stars. I'm not sure if she's asking in regards to the call, but just so she knows, or everybody else who's on the call knows, is Chris is really well connected. Like, this guy has spent so much of his time learning how to become a co-host. He's a part of some amazing masterminds, right? And when you're a part of those kind of communities and you're flying around all around the country, meeting some of the best performers, you build a really good network. And for the people who don't know, because Chris is not here to speak for himself, like, him and I have been working together for about, I would say, almost 2 years now. And I've really gotten to know Chris as a person, right? And he's probably one of the most genuine individuals who I feel is, could be one of the great. Uh, how would I say this? I don't want to say the word influencer because I think it's so gross, right? But I think he's just such an awesome individual in regards to just being able to share information in STR, and the kind of people that he's surrounded himself with is really amazing. And I really think that's why we wanted to put this call together, because he's such a giver. He's such an idea of the abundance mindset, right? And I love that. And I think once we really put this call together and we really put this community together, I think there's going to be a lot of value for everybody.
Yeah, so that's Trisha in school. She's in South Carolina. I think she has a broken foot, broken ankle, but she's had to cancel her trip to Vegas for the OSTRaaT event because of her injury. But yeah, so I guess she's, so I thought stars too, but at first, but I think she's talking about high performing STRs. So I'm sure you guys will cover that in the upcoming calls. And so right now, Saturday, is it what you said? There's going to be a Zoom.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you're going to put that in school, right? So there's
Yep.
going to be one on this Saturday. And as far as the official regular weekly time, they haven't decided on that yet. And
Yeah, we'd love to go over that in the call, see what everybody's thoughts are, see what everybody's schedule is. Like I said, we want this to be beneficial for the OSTRaaT members. So yeah.
And I'll just wrap it up with Sean Lambert. This is this is actually a great information. Instead of supplying wine, we give a coupon to our guests for a free wine tasting for two at our friend's tasting room.
That's a great idea.
I like that. That's actually a lot better. You're still giving them, yeah. I see. That's what I'm talking about.
You're also leading them in the direction of an event, of something to do in your area.
Do you offer like free, like not free, but discounted photo shoot? Do you do photo shoots for like couples and stuff? Like if they, stay at your Airbnb, do you have like a coupon there to schedule like a photo?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've actually had travel nurses who've stayed and whatnot, and then I did a photo shoot with them at the Mount Rainier. I've had proposals, so it's been a great way to kind of intermix my business and stuff, but not as often as I thought I would do it though.
Nice. All right. Well, this was a fun one. Yeah. Hopefully, a lot of people tune in Saturday, and Chris is going to be there, right? Is Chris going to be
Yes.
there? Okay.
Yeah. And just once again, guys, like I said, Chris and I, we're not going to be sitting here telling you that we know everything there is to know about STRs. Our goal is to create a community where we're talking, we're collaborating, and innovating. And we're going to be bringing tons of guests, right? And maybe guests that you guys suggest, or even bringing you on as a guest to kind of talk about your Airbnb. So hopefully you guys find value in the call.
Yep. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. Brady, hopefully we've convinced you to at least check out the school platform. And once again, if people don't know, also Sunday, Zuber's going live with Rob from Rob Solo in the school community. And Alex, any final words from you then?
No, I just heard Cody Davis say a while ago, when you're looking at a deal, when you're looking at doing something, think about, does this move you forward? And when we're talking about a short-term rental and learning how to do that and becoming an operator, I believe that's why I'm making this decision, is because I believe it will move me forward in the same direction, just move me forward.
All right, very cool. Everyone, I will see you in about 15 minutes at the best accountability call in the school community. And I can't say Alex will be there today, but I believe they're still going on today. But we do have that other call in the afternoon. What was it? 5? What time is it that your call?
5 o'clock Pacific. 8 o'clock Eastern.
If I don't invest in Pittsburgh, can I still jump in there or no?
Oh, absolutely. We invite everyone, but it is kind of focused towards our area or surrounding areas. So a lot of times we bring in specific people in that market. So today, Ian Hoover is going to be joining us. He is the other half of Deacon Hoover Real Estate. So he's the part. So this morning I live stream with Alex. In about 10 minutes, the partner is going to be on. And he's probably maybe the person we'll probably start working with at some point more too, because I do see Alex probably transitioning to he's in that kind of final stages of maybe his career. So I do see Ian as the one that's him and Jeremy. Jeremy's the other one. We Jeremy and Liam. But yeah, so it's just to bring value to people that want to know more about the market, and even they bring deals that are in the pipeline so people can see these properties. And Pittsburgh is very unique. That's why. So. But yeah, I'll see everyone there in like 15 minutes. And yeah, thanks, Ray. Thanks, Alex. And everyone tune into their Zoom call on Saturday.
Thanks, guys.